boogeyman is real, and you found him.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
I'm your number one fan.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
7 days.
I am Dracula.
We have such sights to show you.
Boy! I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
I am the eater of worlds and of children.
What's in the fucking box?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
One by one, we will take you.
Never get out of bed again!
You gotta be fucking kidding.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That means it's time for the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast favored by evil Santas everywhere. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday right here on YouTube. So we hope to see you in the live chat. Come join us. This week, we are covering select horror films released December 10th through December 16th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and with me is the esteemed Eugene.
What's up, everybody?
I think I'm getting pretty good at those intros. I really am.
It's always better every time, too. I'm like, yes!
It's like you know, reading a script. Reading a script can be challenging, even though the words are right there. But finding that cadence and that tone that you need and, like, getting that rhythm down, that takes practice, takes time. Because I remember initially, we if you go back and listen to old episodes of Week in Horror, which are available wherever you listen to podcasts, go back to the old stuff. We're talking like 2019, 2020. Oof, not great. Not great by comparison. It's hilarious to see. I love it because it shows how far we've come. So I occasionally will go back and listen. Like, oh, it sounds so terrible. But, you know, here we are, season 5. And almost Christmas. It's almost the end of the year.
I know. Like I know. I'm trying to catch up on my horror films because we always like to do the recap, like best horror movies of the current year is like 2023. I'm like, oh man, it's like 7 that I still need to watch, so I can give like a nice, good recap of what came out this year.
I recently watched. I just caught it. It's a Wonderful Knife. We showed the trailer last week to the audience, but I just watched It's a Wonderful Knife. It's available on Amazon if you have Shudder, so it's available via Shudder. I'm kind of 50. I'm kind of torn on that movie. I am a little bit, not to give like a review or anything like that, because it's weird. I would say it's a slasher that kind of bucks subverts the slasher genre, because it's a slasher version of It's a Wonderful Life, where the final girl, the final girl, a year after the final girl was the final girl, like a year later, she's suffering from PTSD. Her life, it feels like shit, and she wishes that she had never been born. Like, it'd be just better if I never existed. And so her wish is granted. And so, like, she turns around, and the world is a year later, like she'd never been born. So her family doesn't know who she is. Nobody knows who she is. And the killer that she stopped has been able to run free for a year. So everything is like this. Her town is like this dystopian horror show, and all of a sudden she has to like team up with the people who don't know her to stop the killer. And so really, Travis Brosnan tried to be kind of like Happy Death Day, where that was like Groundhog Day, like a slasher Groundhog Day. This was a slasher It's a Wonderful Life. There were some good moments in it, and I thought the slasher was great. I thought the killer was great. The design was fantastic. It was called the Angel Killer, and I thought the costuming of the mask killer was good. Some good decent kills, but I thought it leaned a little too heavy into certain, socio-political, fields.
It tried to force a message.
Yeah, there was too much of the author, or too much of the screenwriter's narrative in that it didn't detract. It was just like, come on, man, you don't need to hit me in the face with it. It's like, I get that you want to imply certain things or you want to implore certain standards. That's fine, but don't smash me in the face and be like, ha ha, it's in your face. I felt that kind of like dragged it a little bit.
Yeah, that can be a hard hit for me in terms of watching a movie.
Yeah.
If I'm in the mood for some kind of social political message, then that's all fine. But sometimes I'm not. I just want to watch like a fun slasher movie, and I think that's where Happy Death Day is definitely going to take the cake, because though it has a couple of implied themes throughout it, like it doesn't beat you on the face over it.
Right. I really enjoyed it because they allowed for the life of me, they allowed that actress to carry that film on her talent alone and be like, she's got the bulk of it, so let's let her, with her natural comedic timing and her physicality, let's let her run this. She's a phenomenally talented actress. Let's let her take the show and go with it. We don't need to use her to carry what we're trying to say about the world and stuff like that. And I think that may have been the issue, is that this script was a little too heavy on what the screenwriter wanted to say, and they didn't let any of the actors' natural talent, do the heavy lifting. Like the script tried to do all the heavy lifting for them, and it was kind of like, it was just so unnecessary. It was just kind of like, I get it, but it was kind of obnoxious especially when you get it like the 5th, 6th, 7th time. It's like, come on, dude. Really?
Yeah, because first of all, Jessica Roth, who plays Tree, is
that's right,
super talented, and the character Tree is a compelling character, and it's a very, very interesting story arc that she goes through as it changes her life over and over as it keeps going. So it's a very interesting point, and even the second one, which isn't as good as the first one, the second one's still a fun movie. Sci-fi than horror, but it's still really fun. But then if you take something like this, which I'll probably end up watching anyway, but if you take something that's trying to beat you over the head with it, it's got to reinforce it for like the 8th time,
right?
And you're kind of like, listen,
even in the final credits, even in the song playing over the final credits, it's kind of like, really, we get it. And I don't think I'm spoiling this for anybody. And it's okay. I am pro LGBT. I am pro LGBTQ. I myself am LGBTQ. But I don't need to be smashed in the face of my horror films with a pro LGBTQ message. It's just when it gets to the point that the music selections that you're making for the credit sequence is another smack in the face. This is how pro we are. We're so pro. It's like, come on, guys, really.
It's like when you think of like characters, right? Characters who are a part of that community. The best characters that are part of that community are characters that are fantastic on their own. Right. And I always go to example of Captain Holt from the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He is a phenomenal captain, a phenomenal leader who happens to be gay. But the character itself is compelling, and it doesn't beat you over the face all the time, but it never shies away from it either. It's a real perfect balance on how that show handles the LGBTQ community, and like that's the way you portray a gay character.
So it's wild that even I could be like, oh, it's like, come on, guys. It's just like, we get it. We understand what you're trying to say. This is fantastic. Just like, come on, dude. Just cut us some slack here. It's like, focus on the killer. More on the killer. I want to know about the killer. I want to know what's going on. We got it. There's some really smart stuff. There's even a nice little throwback, kind of like some throwback imagery to Back to the Future 2, which I thought was really cool. I was like, hey, that's neat. I like that. I like that little throwback, little tidbits that were really smartly done. And then it's just a wildly kind of unbalanced picture. They don't let the actors do the work themselves, which is just kind of a bummer. But definitely check it out. It's a Wonderful Knife. It is a fun movie. It may get a little kind of like, like I said, the things I'm talking about may get a little tedious because I just think they were unnecessary for the sake of the story. But otherwise, it's not a terrible film. The bar is low, but they're definitely far worse than this one. But yeah, that's the one I've checked out lately, and it's currently on Shudder, available via Shudder. So before we jump into some stuff, guys, one thing that I came across I want to show. Let's first and foremost, let's get up that Patreon banner. All those amazing names you see down there at the bottom of the screen, going this way, not the other way, are the individuals that help us to make the show possible. So we thank each and every single one of you. Thank you very, very much. And whenever we do productions and stuff, Their names are in the credits of those because we wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff we do outside of the podcast without your support. So thank you very, very much. We do appreciate that. So all those amazing individuals down there. Check out the link. Link's in the description. Patreon.com/weekinhorror. You can support for as little as $1 a month. We do appreciate it. And let's see who's in the chat tonight. I see Casey Cooper is here, who says, I finally received a non-rejection letter from an agent on my epic fantasy. I have been querying since May. Not an offer of representation, but the agent asked to read the next 50 pages. That is a feather in your cap, sir.
That is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Well done. Fantastic. Fingers crossed, they're going to want to read the next 50 pages. So keep at it, bud. Keep at it. And yes, unfortunately, we just found out today that Norman Lear passed away. So creator of All in the Family, Sanford and Son, like what legendary TV producer and writer. And unfortunately, he was 101.
Wow. Well, yeah, when you said like all the creators, like All in the Family, I was like, damn.
Yeah, but he was 101, born in 1922.
It's a full life right there.
Yeah. All right. I see Raven Darkstar's here. Good to see you, Raven Darkstar. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. Cindy Sue as well. Good to see you. Travis Brown says, evening, y'all. Sorry to miss the Discord film night this past Monday. I was busy with something. I was in a mood, so I watched Seven. I hadn't seen it in a while, and
Man, it's such a good movie.
I know, right? It has aged so well. It is so beautiful. That film is timeless. You could watch that anytime, and it makes fucking sense. And so I was like in a mood. I was writing a script for my personal channel, and I make a Seven reference in that script. So I was like, I haven't watched Seven in a while. I'm gonna watch Seven again. So I just threw it on, and I was like, hey, come and watch Seven with me. And wrote it no last name, jumped in there and watched it with me. God, such an amazing movie. David Fincher.
David Fincher, honestly, that's like David Fincher, like almost prime right there. That's what happens when you let David Fincher actually have the reins to a movie.
Right. So brilliant.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Oh, let's see who else we got in here. I see as well as joined us. Gotta scroll down a little bit. Sorry about that. Rodent, no last name. There's the man Gabba Gabba to you. Gabba Gabba, hey everybody. Good to see you, Rodent. And as well as Strange Luck 790. Good to see you, Strange Luck. I'm seeing an amazing number of channel members in the chat. Thank you all so much for that support. Your channel memberships, they mean the world to us. And of course, all you channel members have access to all of the cool emojis that I made for you, all the horror icon emojis. So feel free to enjoy those. And of course, you can support the channel for 99 cents a month. We do appreciate that. It all goes to the same place, helping us to do the stuff that, do this show and do the stuff outside of all the productions that we do. So thank you very, very much. See a bunch of them. So all you members of the Army of the Dead, we do appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Sherry Tilley's here. Good to see you, Sherry Tilley. Says, hey, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Sherry. Thanks so much for hanging out. As well as soon as I scroll down a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. Hypogamous. Good to see you, Hypogamous. Says, yep, I was on my way. Good to see you, bud. Leanne Richer, Music Magic Macabre, who won her first trivia last week.
Congratulations.
Yes, Leanne killed it. Leanne was first up. It was like she was like, I had no idea. It was like she actually beat out Travis.
Ooh,
I was impressed.
Okay. I'm thinking to say, like, that's a tall order right there.
I was deeply impressed. Leanne, Leanne knocked it out of the park. And she was like, I won. She's like, you totally won. So well done. And you beat out some of the hardcore guys. And don't worry, we've got a good trivia question coming at the end of the show as well. So, get those Google fingers ready. All right. Who else do we got here tonight? I see Sarcasm. Good to see you, Sarcasm. What's up, kids? How is everybody tonight? We are all doing fantastic. Thanks, sir. Hope you are doing well and hope everybody's doing well going into the holidays because they are coming up quick. So if you are traveling, be sure to stay safe. And I hope you have a fantastic holiday if you celebrate and a fantastic new year. We got stuff coming up, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Rodent No Last Name would like to say that those who don't hit the like button will be forced to watch reruns of Full House for eternity. See, and that would suck because as wholesome as Full House is, it's not Bob Saget in Bob Saget's natural environment.
No, it's not.
You need real Bob Saget. That's what you need.
You need Bob Saget from Entourage.
You need that vile Bob Saget. Because that man was vile, which just made him all the more wonderful. It's like the difference between Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire and Robin Williams on his HBO stand-up shows with Whoopi and Billy Crystal. Just brilliant shit. I can't remember the name of those. I know that it was Whoopi Goldberg, Billy Crystal, and Robin Williams. You remember what I'm talking about? back in the day.
That was back in like the 90s where you
Right.
had groups of comedians. Because I remember you had like, it was like the Redneck community group also with Jeff Foxworthy and
Ron Foxworthy, Ron White, Larry the Cable Guy, and what's the other guy's name?
There was a fourth one.
There's a
but
fourth.
Yeah, I remember those groups that they had back
Right.
then.
All right, Joshua Lee, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for hanging out. Dr. Nimrod as well says, come on, Santa Warren, pull the thumb out and get streaming. We are streaming along. Cindy Johnson, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Left-Handed Jedi as well. Thanks for hanging out. Travis Brown says, drinking some eggnog with some rum while watching this. Best way to do that. Castellar Daniel Garcia says, there's Something in the Barn is a fun horror comedy. I'm looking forward to see that because evil elves are always entertaining as shit. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out as well. So thank you for that heads up. Rodnella Sames says obligatory Eugene storyboard porn mention. Thank you very much. Because he needs that. Dr. Nimrod, thank you so much for 4 months of support. 4 months as a member of the Army of the Dead. We do appreciate that, Dr. Nimrod. You rock, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me see who else we got. I think we may have caught everybody. We totally need a slasher set. Rodnella Sames says we totally need a slasher set backstage at a drag show. That sounds familiar. I think it's been something. Well, I don't know. Something along those lines. I'm not sure. I can't
think off the top of my head right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Leanne. Yes, I do prefer. I actually recorded my next video coming out wearing this shirt, so I just didn't change it. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let me see. Who else do we have here?
Oh,
tonight?
here we go. It's Bill Ingrove. Bill.
Yes, Bill.
Yeah, the blue collar.
That's right.
Commentary.
Blue collar comedy
Brown
tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Leanne says, I'm so much in shock. Yeah, and your prize is on your way to you, Leanne. So congratulations. And by the way, if Jasper comes in, I need Jasper to send me his shipping details because I can't find them anywhere, and I need to send him his prize. I think it was his first one as well. So Ivy Gentry, good to see you, Ivy Gentry. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Appreciate you hanging out and being here, supporting the show. You rule. And I see, I had to scroll a bunch. Jinju is here. Good to see you, Jinju. And I think I got everybody. Fantastic. Travis Brown says, I want both America's Funniest Home Videos and Dumb and Dumber's Bob Saget. Hell yeah. Hell yes. Bob Saget was a legend. If you've never seen Bob Saget in The Aristocrats, that's what it's all about. That's like unfiltered Bob Saget. Javier Hara.
Someone also mentioned Half Baked too.
Oh yes, Half Baked. Oh yes, the support meeting. Marijuana. You're addicted to marijuana? I can't even say it. I don't even want to say it.
I can't even say the quote.
Oh, let me see. Javier Hara, good to see you. Says Jello. Good to see you, Javier. And as well as Anna, good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for hanging out. And Tesla Radios says, good evening, you scary people. Thank you so much for hanging out, bud. It's good to see everyone in the chat. All right. So, before we kick off on tonight's interesting selections, better than last week's selections, but I say there's some interesting stuff here.
It's a rough week.
We've had rougher. We've had rougher weeks. We've had tougher weeks. The Whoopi Goldberg, Billy Crystal, Robin Williams comedy specials were the Comic Relief homeless fundraisers.
Oh,
Comic Relief.
Okay.
Yes, that was it. And then I know they aired on HBO. So, all right. So first and foremost, we have a trailer that I came across that I wanted to show everybody because it's coming from that. It's another one coming out of that powerhouse production facility known as Blumhouse. And the film is called Imaginary. So let's check out this trailer.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive. But not you. Not anymore.
Got paid 2 weeks to sleep on the floor. Now he's a horror icon.
How does it feel being back?
Good. I had such good memories here. Maybe my happy place can be our happy place.
Who left you all alone down here?
It was just my imagination.
I'm playing a new new game with Chauncey.
The scavenger hunt list. That's fun.
Chauncey says you're not allowed to play with us.
Oh.
Because you left him. I need something happy.
Something happy. Ugh. That bugs freaked you out.
If I can finish my list, Chauncey will take me on a trip to the place he's from.
Something that hurts.
Alice?
But it was just my imagination.
You've been spending time with a new friend?
Running away with me.
He asked you to do something that hurt you.
That was part of the game.
Does that seem like a game a good friend would want to play?
Maybe we shouldn't play together anymore, Chauncey. Maybe we shouldn't be friends. No.
Alice?
She's lost, but we're gonna find her.
It was just my imagination.
Every culture has entities that tether to the young. We call them imaginary friends. You are always playing with your imaginary friend. When the connection is severed, the entity becomes enraged.
He says he's right behind you.
But it was just my imagination.
Can I hang out with your imaginary friend?
He's not imaginary. He's not your friend.
Nope. Nope. All right, that was the trailer for Imaginary. What are you thinking, Eugene?
I have mixed feelings on it. It seemed like the trailer didn't gave too much away. The imaginary friend has been a trope that's been played a lot.
True.
It seems like it's going to rely heavily on jump scares, which I'm 50-50 about. I have the feeling that probably some of the best moments were shown in the trailer, and that's not a good feeling. But I'm not necessarily discounting it just yet because it may have a couple of surprises that's still up its sleeve. But yeah, the teddy bear sliding across the floor.
Nope.
No, I'm out. He lasted a lot longer than I would have.
So that was the trailer for the film Imaginary. It's a Blumhouse production, and it is directed by Jeff Wadlow, written by Wadlow, Greg Erb, and Jason Ormland, and starring DeWanda Weiss, Tom Payne, Tegan Burns, Piper Braun, Veronica Falcon, and Betty Buckley. And it is set for release March 8th, 2024. So Sarcasm Says comes out on my birthday. Fantastic. There you go.
Yeah.
So I think I'm definitely going to check it out on streaming when it comes out. I don't think I'll go to see this in the theaters. Luckily, because it's Blumhouse, it's probably going to go like immediately to streaming as well as theaters. So I like stuff like this one, and entities. I think I'll dig it. I like supernatural horrors at this degree. So this one and Night Swim, I'm kind of looking for, and Baghead are ones that I'm looking forward to coming out in 2024. So I think this goes up there. I was like, I might take this one. I'm thinking probably along the lines of Night Swim is going to be kind of in that vein because that's also Blumhouse. They have so many films coming out in 2024. It's insane. So
the Blumhouse has the right formula. They keep it to cheap kind of, I guess cheap is the wrong word, but just kind of the lower budget horror films, like above indie level, but not like super, super big budget. They just kind of hang around that. And that allows them with the resources to release so many movies a year. And all I have to do is hit a couple times. That's it.
Yeah. Tesla Radio says God cuts JL in the Terror Tube. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm really happy with the little scenes that we have.
Those look really cool with the old school like turning the channel sound and everything.
Yes.
Like
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad that you dig that. So I'm so glad that people are digging that. It was like flipping through the channels to get to what we want to see. So I'm glad people dig that. And Rodin Illustrates says, boy, Seth MacFarlane's Ted 3 got dark. It really did. Travis Brown says Megan and the Invisible Man are Blumhouse's best. I would agree that they're up there. I absolutely would. Megan was phenomenal. I don't think there should be a Megan 2 in my personal opinion. It's just a cash grab, but Megan was great. And Invisible Man was just chef's kiss, because that was not only they veered away from the supernatural sci-fi stuff and they just went like straight like legit science fiction, which is more in line with what Wells was intending with the original story. And not to mention, the acting in it was fucking phenomenal. Elizabeth Moss, we're talking like Handmaid's Tale. The level of that woman's talent is just immeasurable. She's one that sold that fucking movie.
Oh, she's fantastic. Invisible Man, I like the approach they had. Same thing, not a lot of jump scares, and the one jump is like the handful that's there was earned.
Yes,
on that.
Dude, the one on the ladder got like actually.
That's
the
one where she's in the attic, and she's like
and
looking
it's
down,
that
and he's
close,
right
and like he's like, and then she dumps it, and he's like right there in front of her. I was like, oh fuck me! It's like I actually jumped a little bit when that happened. It's like because it's like you kind of expect him to be there, but not that close.
Yeah,
it's like he was right in her face. It's like, oh shit! It's like fucking hell. It was that one and the knife in the restaurant. The knife in the restaurant, like because it was so fast. It's like what the shit? Like you don't you don't have time to react. It was like and then all of a sudden it's in her hand. It was fucked up.
Well, shit.
Son of a bitch. All right. So, yep, that was the trailer for Imaginary. So be sure to let us know in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com if you plan on seeing Imaginary when either in theaters or if it comes out on streaming. Let us know or if you don't plan on seeing it, what you thought of the trailer. Love to hear your thoughts on that. So please let us know about that. Awesome. All right, bud. You ready to dive in? We got movies. We got some interesting movies to talk about. We do. I got some stuff to say about this first one. I really do. So why don't you take us away? What do we have up first?
All right, first up, we have Don't Go to Sleep, which was released December 10th, 1982. Roll it.
Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Fucking lying here, girl.
Trying to kill us. I'm telling you, sir.
You got a problem here, guy?
Not anymore.
Rock's gold.
Oh, the pizza cutter.
It was such a weird scene, you know?
It really is.
And Dennis Weaver's just killing it.
Well, that was definitely one of the weirder trailers that we had. Wow, I talked about earlier about I was like, man, Imaginary felt like it gave away too much. This one went the exact opposite direction, and we're like, we're going to give you nothing.
Nothing to go on. Just visuals. No exposition whatsoever.
All right, we have Don't Go to Sleep, which was directed by Richard Lang, starring Valerie Harper, Dennis Weaver, Ruth Gordon, Robin Encanto, Olivia Robbins, and Kristen Cumming. And Don't Go to Sleep is you have a family that recently lost a daughter, and so they move into a new house, but she kind of hangs around a little bit.
I like what Travis Brown says. When a house number ends in 666, just run. Just run the fuck away.
Just straight up run. So I'm curious if you agree with me on this one. So
okay.
I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed some of the performances, and I liked the ghost of the girl, and I liked the fact that they went a non-creepy looking route, because I think so many like ghosts, it always has to be scary, and this is like, no, she's the ghost, but she looks like a regular girl, which I find creepier.
Okay.
And I liked that. The issues is it is a made-for-TV movie. The issue I had, a lot of it was just the production value overall. It wasn't shot very well, and I think a lot of it was due to like very limited budget. There's some like underexposure issues. You can tell that there were some budget restrictions on this one, despite having a solid story and a pretty solid cast. So to me, this is one of the very few exceptions that I can honestly think a remake would do it justice. To actually come back and it's like, hey, let's revisit the story. Let's put a little bit more money behind it. Get ourselves an updated cast. Like, this is something that I think would be prime for like Blumhouse or A24. So you don't even need a lot of money, a couple $1 million. And I honestly think that a remake of this movie would be a hit. I really do.
I can agree with that. Now, well, sort of. So I can see where you're going with that. And thank you so much, NANA, for the $6.66 super chat. We do appreciate that.
Thank you so much, NANA.
He says, nothing has scared me since Poltergeist. Am I dead inside? You just might be. So, but Poltergeist was fucking scary, no doubt about that. But it's interesting that you bring that up, NANA. So, this is what I got. Now, this movie released in 1982, in December of 1982, okay, which means that likely they were shooting it 1981, early 1982 for a late release direct-to-TV. Now, you can tell by the quality of it. If you look at any other, like maybe like we looked at ones like, you know, Vampire. There was the Vampire movie that we watched. There was the one with David Carradine as the serial killer. All had that same kind of quality. So shot on TV quality cameras at the time. So you can see it has that kind of grain to it, and it's definitely like what was it? Who said it? Just sarcastic. It has the 80s splattered all over it with the odd angles, object close-ups, big ass hair. I will say this: I loved the cinematography of the asylum, of the mental institution. The spiraling room up above. I thought that was very inspired. I like that because as our character, as the little girl in there is spiraling out, the room itself is I loved that take because we're looking at it from her angle. So I kind of dug that cinematography playing to the audience. So the thing is, this released December 1982. Poltergeist released just like 6 months previous, but 6 months before this, summer 1982. Okay. So, and like Annie brings up kind of like there's a lot of connective tissue between these two. Okay. There's a lot of similarities between Poltergeist and this, where we have the events taking place with the family, although this is a little bit more directed. Poltergeist was not. Plus this film, plus Don't Go to Sleep was quite a bit darker in tone than I think Poltergeist was. Whereas Poltergeist was more overt with the scares, with like the visual scares. This one was really more of a kind of like creeping dread style. And plus they didn't go with like the scary looking ghost. So just the ghost of the daughter.
Well, see, even when you compare the two, I felt a lot of it was budget because Poltergeist had the huge budget behind it, so they're able to just invest more in a lot of the scares and a lot of designs. They do even like some stop motion and stuff like that with some of the ghosts. But this one obviously couldn't go the route because they didn't have that budget. They just really didn't. You don't have the top-notch cinematographer and the everything that goes along with that. So it had to be darker. They had to cover up a lot of stuff that Poltergeist did.
Right. But what I was going off is like it's weird that these two movies that were so similar, because like watching Don't Go to Sleep, I kept getting Poltergeist vibes. It was very, very strange that both these films would drop the exact same year. That Poltergeist would drop as a summer movie, and then 6 months later on TV, you get Don't Go to Sleep. I thought it's like that's weird. That's kind of interesting, in that respect. I was like, what is there anything there? And it turns out that Don't Go to Sleep originally aired via ABC, via the ABC network. Okay. Poltergeist was produced by MGM, and there is connective tissue between MGM and ABC. So there's connectivity there. Okay, so when we know that there's connectivity between companies, there may be a connectivity between, like, scripts may get passed around, may get done in that respect. So MGM drops, and so Metro-Goldwyn drops Poltergeist, and then later on, the kind of like tangentially affiliated ABC drops Don't Go to Sleep on their network. And if you look at Don't Go to Sleep, it very much makes sense that it's kind of a retooling of the Poltergeist script for a much lower budget, and to kind of ramp down, to compensate for the fact they didn't have the money to pay for those kinds of scares. Not to mention the a much cheaper director, much cheaper writer, but the writer Ned Wynn is literally the connection there, because Ned Wynn wrote a bunch of stuff for MGM and would be aware of these things. So I think that that's what Don't Go to Sleep actually is. I think it's a retooled version of Poltergeist that was ramped way down for television. Is for scares, and that's why everything looks so cheap, cheaper cameras, cheaper everything. And the other thing that gets me is that Oliver Robbins played Robbie in Poltergeist and played Kevin in the brother in this movie. So there's an actor connection between the two, which would make sense, because if he rocked the younger brother thing in Poltergeist, why not bring him over to play the younger brother again? Which is essentially, if you watch the two, they're like the same role, like almost identical.
And to see something like that makes sense, because if you have Poltergeist that came out like summer of '82, so it was filmed in like '81, and you expect something around like 9 months to a year, like a post-production. So if you wrapped up principal photography and let's say mid '81, now producers in the studios, they watch dailies throughout the production. They're going to watch some scenes and here and there, and they probably knew very early on they have a hit on their hands. So it's like, this looks fantastic. Steven Spielberg is doing his thing. Toby Hooper is just a yes man. Like, it's just it's working out very well. So they know they have a hit on their hand. And so it's very feasible to go, hey, this is something that really could catch on. We need to capitalize on this now. So I can really see them going ahead and getting another script out in the fall of 1981. Let's film something for television, and let's go that route, because with this one being the lower budget, it's probably made much faster.
Right.
Because it just has less effects, less visual effects, all this kind of stuff. So they honestly, Poltergeist could have been in post-production while they wrote, made, and shot Don't Go to Sleep, knowing that Poltergeist comes out, it's going to have a hit. And also keep in mind, I know we talked about a 6 month difference, but in 1982, films were in theaters a lot longer than today. So it was okay. It was normal for a film to be in theaters, especially a successful film, for like 6 months. So there's a chance that some theaters are still showing Poltergeist when this movie aired on television.
Oh, they definitely would. It was Spielberg executive producing, Toby Hooper behind the wheel. I think that Toby Hooper handled the scares and Steven Spielberg handled the family stuff, which is why that movie works so well. But with that kind of movie, you're definitely going to want that through the Christmas season. People are going to go see that kind of element at the time. They're absolutely going to do it. I just thought that was I thought it was fascinating. Thank you so much, NA, for gifting 5 memberships to the Army of the Dead. We do appreciate that. Welcome all new members. Looks like we got Insane Angel, Laura Rader, Facty, Jason Hyatt, and Kat Marie all now members of the Army of the Dead. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
NA.
Thank you.
Very generous. Appreciate that. So, and hey, Tony Regime, good to see you, bud. Thank you so much for being here, man. Appreciate that. So I thought that was intriguing, and despite the fact that I think it's a retooled version of Poltergeist, I thought it was a very, very inventive little film. I really enjoyed the acting in this. Dennis Weaver I thought was great. Dennis Weaver, those who may not remember him from from Duel. He was the driver in Duel, and not to mention he was it McQuaid? What was that television show where he played like the cowboy detective in the city? Do you remember that?
Oh man,
McCloud.
That's way back. Yeah.
So he was in the police drama McCloud. He played like the Western detective Western detective in the big city is kind of what it was. But McCloud was good. He's also in Touch of Evil. Orson Welles' Touch of Evil, which I thought was cool. So Dennis Weaver's legendary actor happened to do this, and I thought the acting across the board was solid. I thought everybody handled it very well, especially the kids. Kids are always really, really tough, and it's always kind of touch and go. But I thought everybody was fantastic in it, especially Robin Ignico, who had the role of Mary, and just kicking ass and taking names with that. That was a difficult role, especially with that arc leading up into the asylum and everything. That's some hard shit, and she managed to knock it out of the park. I really enjoyed that. So everything kind of works for it in a way, because I think what they saved in special effects and what Poltergeist could do, they made up for in making sure they had really solid talent that could sell this story. So like one of the rare made-for-TV kind of like horror films that I thought they actually managed to pull off.
And that's why I enjoyed it, because it's a pretty solid story. And I like the choices that the director made, Richard Lang. Like, there were a lot of solid choices. They worked within the budget that they had to produce a solid product. But this is why I say I would really like to see a remake of this film. Like, I really, really would to see, because the quality of the made for TV, I think, is going to turn a lot of people off today. Because you start watching kind of like, I don't know if I can able to sit all the way through this, just based off of the overall quality of it. And they did the best they could. We're going to talk about movies that are shot way worse quality today than this one. But that, to me, has always been the reason why you remake something, because maybe you didn't have the resources the first go around, or maybe the product aged poorly and will turn off the newer generation. Because I don't know if we can get a new generation of horror fans to sit and watch this, unless you're the type that specifically likes content like the low budget type of horror films. So I would like to see a remake of it.
Hey, Donnie does that. Good to see you, bud. Thanks so much for being here. Robert Biter as well. Robert Biter says, you can start now. I made it. Oh, you started without me. Yeah, sorry about that. But we're only down one, Phil. We're only through the first one so far. One thing that really kind of got me by surprise is that you don't often see it in made for TV films, is how willing this movie was to kill characters in the family. It's kind of like, holy shit. It's like it was like the dad goes horribly, even though they don't show it, and the brother and the grandmother. I'm like, holy shit. Like there's like no qualms whatsoever. This ghost is out to smoke everybody and possess like her sister, to take over her sister, which I love that little creepy little scene where it comes out of the shadows. It's like, hi, mommy. I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy.
I was like, yeah, that's creepy.
I like how no holds barred the film was. So there's good cinematography, some interesting stuff, some interesting little camera tricks that they played with. They did the best they could with what they had. So just for a little kind of unknown gem, I would say, as far as made for TV horror goes, this one you could definitely look up. It's free to watch on YouTube, so you can check it out there. But if you have the time, but yeah, I'd say this one was more enjoyable than I anticipated. I've seen a lot of bad made for TV. So
same here, because as soon as I found out it was kind of made for TV and I started watching it, I was like, sometimes it's like, man, this is gonna be a rough movie. And a lot of times, like 90% of the times, you're absolutely correct. It's a rough movie.
Yeah.
But this was actually, after a while, it's a little bit easier to get into. And I really started to care about the characters. And you can see it as a little gem for what it is. I think it kind of gets lost in everything, especially in 1982. So many horror films and other things were coming out at the time. It just kind of got lost in the abyss of all that.
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely something interesting.
Definitely. All right.
So we talked about the connections between Don't Go to Sleep and Poltergeist.
Oh, I think he froze.
Did come out.
Oh, there he goes.
We did come out first, about 6 months. They're still going to both be in production about the same time. I want to ask the audience, which ripped off which? Did Poltergeist maybe take a couple of things from... Am I roboting?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Did Poltergeist take a couple of things from Don't Go to Sleep, or did Don't Go to Sleep take off a couple of things from Poltergeist? Because they're both very, very similar. Let us know in the comments below, or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
See, that's an interesting notion, because given production times that, you know, not just production times, but times when writing the script, when, like, how long Poltergeist was floating around out there before it got made, and how long Don't Go to Sleep was floating out there before it got made. So, because not necessarily is it, you know, you could have Don't Go to Sleep floating around for like 7-8 months. Someone comes across that, says, "Ooh, this is interesting, but I'm going to write something different that's a little bit this way," and then they write Poltergeist. So one could have informed the other. That's intriguing. You know, that's intriguing. I kind of dig that. Or
yeah,
Tony Regime,
interesting.
Tony Regime brings up, or they were both inspired by the same thing.
That is also true. Maybe there was a third script that never got made.
Yeah. Rodano's name says they may have cross-pollinated one another. Very interesting. Let us know in the comments what you think. Because once you watch Don't Go to Sleep, you're kind of like, in my eyes, I was like, this has Poltergeist written all over it. But that's only because I saw Poltergeist first. You know, if someone saw this first and then watched Poltergeist, people are like, this has Don't Go to Sleep written all over it. It's kind of like it's kind of like it's kind of like how I felt when I watched Night Things from 2010, and then in the series in 2021. I was kind of like, holy shit. They're like, this is Night Things. This is like totally Night Things. It's like, because it came 11 years prior to it. So I thought that was beyond weird. So I got that same feeling. It was like something went on in the background that we're not aware of, because these films are just way too similar. Or I know, like I said, between that one Orson Welles film and Halloween 3, the Orson Welles like pagan, you know, sacrifice thing.
Yeah,
it came out before Halloween 3, and Halloween 3 I think Halloween 3 just copied it. I think they just copied that fucking movie, because it's exactly
it doesn't surprise me.
It's the same really goddamn thing. Yeah. All right, let's jump on to our second one. This one was kind of tough. I mean, this one, I apologize for those. I mean, if you watch this film, there's some graphic shit in this movie. More graphic than I expected. It really was. Kind of like bordering on another genre, I would say. Do you know what I'm talking about, Eugene? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, am I roboting a little bit?
No, you're good.
Okay. Well, my internet connection's it's weird right now. But
yeah.
Yeah, it roboted everybody. It roboted you, and like everything else. Like, that's weird. But yeah, so what do we have coming up next?
So I would say, okay, so Leanne Rich says, is Shatter Dead as graphic as Burning Moon? And no, not as gorily graphic as Burning Moon. Burning Moon was really fucking graphic, but no, not snuff, not that direction. The other direction. We'll just get into it. This one, this one kind of surprised me. To unpack here. So released December 13th, 1994. We have the movie Shatter Dead. Let's check out this trailer. Let's cue up the terror tube.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
What's going on? Where's Stewie?
He's 34 feet southwest and approximately 5 feet deep.
What are you?
I've been asking myself that same question.
Oh my God. She's so drunk.
You're gonna live your life without a home, without a job, and you're gonna grow old and decrepit and die. Except you won't die, because nobody dies anymore. And you're gonna spend the rest of eternity wandering the face of the earth in that pathetic state, just wishing you could lay down and rest like people did in the good old days. But you can't, not anymore.
Look at that tree. That tree is the end. That's how clear it is to me. The end. Does that scare you?
Prepare to be physically challenged!
Jesus, you're good.
Good. Jesus was the best.
It's not the brain, but the soul. How do you kill the soul? I don't mean to scare you, but I'm really scared. Nobody trusts anybody anymore.
I'm sorry to hear about that. Life's not fair.
Neither is death. What's your name, lady?
Susan.
There, you see? No scars to hide. Only shame.
All right, that was the trailer for Shatter Dead, which was an independent zombie film directed by the legendary Scooter McCrae, written and produced also by Scooter McCrae, starring Stark Raven, Flora Fauna, Daniel Smalls Johnson, and Robert Wells. The film follows the film follows a dystopian world where the dead no longer stay dead, where pretty much nobody can die anymore because for some reason, that's what happens when an angel bangs somebody, or the angel of death bangs somebody. I have no idea because they never really explain it. But then there's this woman named Susan who's attempting to literally trying to get home to her boyfriend. Like she went out on a grocery run and she's trying to get home to her boyfriend, and she runs across like this cult that wants to kill everybody and make everybody dead, so because they think that's like, you know, God's judgment or whatever. It is an interesting film that was a little bit more extreme in ways than I thought it was going to be. There's one particular scene in question that pushed the boundaries. It was kind of like, oh shit, I hope, but the way they did it,
are you talking about the fetus scene?
No, hardly, no. I'm talking about the dead like can't function anymore, like, you know, reproductively or sexually in that respect, and so the gun that was the way they covered it up with the overlays and everything, I was like, that close, gentlemen. Scooter, that close, sir, that close, so close. So, but Scooter McCrae is known for pushing the boundaries in everything that he does. He's always been a kind of avant-garde dude who's like, what can I do next that's, you know, like hardcore. But in this particular film, I got this whole thing, it felt like Jim Jarmusch's Dead Don't Die by way of Sam Raimi and Lars von Trier is essentially what I got. It was like, okay, so we got like the Raimi effect, like that whole like prepare to be physically, you know, like that shit right there. You got goofy shit like that, but the whole tone of the fucking movie is like straight out of Von Trier's Depression trilogy. It's like so dour, but there's a bunch of shit in it that doesn't make sense. It's just kind of like it almost like in media res kind of like vision of this deal is like, let's drop you right in the middle of this, no real context, a bunch of visual imagery that's shocking, and then follow this woman on this journey from like point A to point B and how that's her arc. And so it's definitely leaves a lot to the actually it leaves very little to the imagination in some regards. But yeah, I get what Scooter was trying to do, but it's kind of a hybrid film, you know, which are always difficult to pull off. But you know, this is a real art versus substance challenge here.
So this was an interesting movie to say the least. From a cinematography standpoint, this is probably one of the first like full-length films I shot like on VHS.
Yeah, because it was shot on video. Same as you remember we were talking about that one, The Dead Next Door. Okay, so yeah, so you remember? Okay, hear me out. The Dead Next Door. Okay, that dude, that director, J.K. Bookwalter, is actually friends with Scooter McCrae. They both came up in the same kind of like at the same time filming in the same thing, kind of exchanging ideas in that respect. Although, which kind of explains the Raimi influence on this, because the two of them were both very influential on one another as far as that whole, like, you know, early to mid 90s video push, like shooting everything on video. You know, really low budget, really high gore, really, you know, like high art or high exploitation shit. And that's literally the same field that both of them came out of that. So I found that wild. It was like, oh, they, you know, cross pollination there.
And this is one of those, like, I'll always applaud getting it in the can, because shooting on VHS, I made my first short film on VHS. And it was a 10-minute short film. No, actually probably closer to about 8 minutes, an 8 short film. And the amount of work it took that, because to edit it, we had to do like 2 VCRs.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Yes.
And if for people who have never done like VCR style editing, you record your stuff on your tape, and that's like your dailies right there on your tape or tapes, whatever. And then you need blank tape. So you had one VCR plug into another VCR, the original one that has your dailies on it, and then you have your VCR, that blank tape, which is going to be your final product, right? Your final one on it. The hard thing about editing this way is this: VCRs take a while to get up to speed. So it's not a precise thing where in a computer where it can be like,
oh damn, I think we lost Eugene. And he was right in the middle of something amazing. I think his internet dropped out. So while he's right, yes, that editing via VHS, I know he'll finish that thought in a second. I don't want to take away from him, but editing on VHS is always challenging and problematic. It's always a pain in the ass. I'll let him finish that. But this one was really, really okay. So I was both like really, really intrigued by this one and really kind of like put off by this film in a number of ways. The cinematography was not bad. There wasn't anything like really inspired. Like, oh, there he is. There he's back.
All right.
So the cinematography itself was not that bad. There was nothing like inventive, like, you know, in the way that J.K. Bookwalter liked to do, with that kind of like or even Sam Raimi in that the late 70s. So that was the problem, is that there was no real push to try and do something inventive. It was basically just kind of telling like an exploitative story. And while there were some themes in there, like of the character of Susan, challenging the social order, you know, challenging concepts of heteronormativity and gender and gender roles, which is all kind of like, you know, they at the time not as big of topics then, but still very, very relevant. I don't think that those concepts can really be addressed in the way that they should be addressed, not in Scooter's way, because Scooter is kind of like, if you imagine J.K. Bookwalter and Scooter McCrae side by side, Bookwalter wanted to go the kind of Raimi route, whereas starting from there and go the Raimi route, whereas Scooter wanted to go the Henenlotter route. So where you get shit like Bad Biology and Frankenhooker and Basket Case and shit like that, which makes sense because Henenlotter was more of an influence on Scooter McCrae than was Raimi was a big influence on J.K. Bookwalter, which is why we see distinct differences in how they tell their stories. Whereas Raimi, the camera was what you do with the camera was as important as the story itself, because the camera will facilitate the telling of the story and facilitate how the audience.
Well, the thing is, to go back to it, which director ended up being bigger?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, hands down, Raimi's storytelling method is better. It just hands down is. But yeah, I mean, going back to the whole like production of this one, like I applaud them for getting it together, because I can't imagine shooting a feature film on VHS in like 94. When is coming? Yeah, 94, 94, that time frame. Putting all that stuff together, and you're buying various tapes, and those cameras are big and bulky, and getting all that kind of movement stuff. So I applaud them for that. The problem is when you talk about the themes, it has a really interesting theme. That was something that was really interesting, of the dead don't die, and doing things like, do you kill yourself at a young age so you stay young, you stay in your younger body,
longer versus like having like a say a physically traumatic death, and then your head's crushed the entire time, or you're cut in half,
or the boyfriend going out the fucking window. So they have to like splint his whole body together so he can actually move. Oh, that was
because you can't if you once you die, you can't heal.
Yeah.
But if you say you live to an old age and then you die at an old age, well, then you're in your old like decrepit body for eternity. So that's a really interesting point. And there's a couple other shows that have dipped in on that. I know Doctor Who had a made-for-TV movie about it that was really interesting. I think someone mentioned Supernatural also. So it's an interesting concept. It's just this one missed the mark, aside from production value, on how to hit that mark.
I think it's a great story. I just don't. It's a great story, a great premise. I don't think Scooter McCrae was the director to tell it. Not because he doesn't have the talent, but because his style doesn't fit those kinds of themes. That's why it comes off in the very, very weird way it does. There are a number of other directors that could have handled this a lot better, even if they working with the same equipment. I don't think that. I think the Scooter McCrae wasn't the one to really kind of tackle this. I understand he wrote it, but if he'd written this and handed it to another director, I think it would have been much, much better, and we wouldn't have gotten weird, pistol phallus scene. I don't need to go into detail. So
and with this there are just so many bad technical parts of this film. So many to the point where it's distracting, and it's one thing if you have like, for example, like bad lighting. Covered a lot of films that have bad lighting, but when you have bad audio. Or you're using on-camera audio.
They were both the audio and the audio and the lighting. It's bad on this one. So
it's hands down.
Your interior areas are either too bright or they're too dark or they're too saturated with one particular color. Definition is taken out of it, and I fucking hate to I hate to say this because I imagine that the role of Susan was very, very challenging. Was a very challenging role. And required for the actress to go into some really dark headspaces. I get that, but Stark Raven, not the best. And
that's to say that lightly.
It's like I may be getting the Understatement of the Year award here. Not great. And when the bulk of your movie is resting upon the shoulders of one individual, you need to make sure that individual can do two things. One, do an appropriate line read, and two, actually know how to fucking emote. Not just the fact that she's willing to get naked on camera should not be the only, and she looks good, should not be the only reason why you cast this individual.
That is a different industry.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that the original actress, because Stark was not the original actress that Scooter had cast for this one. Originally, even though Scooter says he was totally upfront about it, the original actress backed out because of the physical commitments of the film. It was like, it's just too gratuitous for her. So she backed out. Stark was cast kind of like almost last minute, came in, did the job. They got it in the can. That's great. But, if the director and the equipment and the production itself cannot elevate this thing to where it needs to be, then your lead actress absolutely must do that. And I'm talking that the Scooter's in the same position that Cronenberg was in with his movie Rabid, because all of that movie hinged upon that actress's shoulders, and she's the reason that movie came across as awesome. Like everything that she did, so it's the kind of same situation where it's like you had an opportunity and you dropped the ball. It's kind of like, I understand budget, I understand lack of equipment, I understand we're doing the best we can with what we got here. At least make sure your actress can do the basic things that an actor can do, and that is emote with their face.
Listen,
and do a fucking line read.
They got what they paid for. I doubt she made a dime while filming that movie.
Oh, probably not.
I seriously doubt if she got paid $100 for that entire production. I would be impressed.
$100.
I really, really would.
$100 in craft. That's what she got paid.
Like, it's not having. I don't know why they didn't have access to legitimate film at the time. Maybe film was a little bit too expensive. They're trying out this new medium that's working out. It's trash.
Like
it's
just
exploitative trash. It absolutely
bad.
is.
It's bad. It is. It's just straight bad on so many levels.
Let me see it real quick. Tang Whistle is here. Tang Whistle CPM, good to see you. Says Eugene is suffering a VCR moment, apparently. Absolutely. And Frayed Edges is here. Good to see you, Frayed Edges. Says that soundtrack and audio sounded strange. It absolutely was, especially if you haven't seen the film. Believe me. Feature-length version of that, very, very weird. Frayed Edges says, LOL, yes, I did media in high school, and it was all VHS edits. I also got to VHS stop animation, LOL. We used to press record, then pause, then move the clay, then tap the pause record for half a second, and then that was their stop motion. So that's got to be a lot of fun. Tony, what's up? What were you gonna say?
I mean, so yeah, Extra J, you understand the frustration and how long it takes to edit on 2 VCRs. It is like a painstaking process. I couldn't imagine editing a feature. Editing a feature on 2 VCRs will probably take you a year.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't even get all the cuts right either. You're almost like, that's probably the best I'm going to get without some kind of. They had like time clocks and sync on higher production stuff. When you're editing actual reel to reel, you would have clocks and stuff that would calculate all that kind of stuff for you on bigger stuff. But if you're doing just 2 VCRs on your own,
yeah. Tony Regimo says the way VHS has the scan lines will also make editing a nightmare. Absolutely. And I think I saw Extra J says, still remember trying to shoot a short movie and editing with 2 VCRs in high school in the early 90s. We all tasted it. We all know it. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It really is. Sally Skellington, good to see you. Says, hey, folks, good to see you, Sally. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. But ultimately, I think that's the big issue. Is like I think this story was a little bit more than Scooter. I think Scooter. I applaud him for taking the challenge of trying to do a very, very difficult story. This is a very complex story that could have been done a number of ways. And I don't think Scooter was simply the guy to do it. I thought his idea was great, but his own personal style just doesn't come across in this one. I think kind of ultimately bogs the concept down when it could have been handled by another director much more easily. And while there's some interesting themes in there, there's just too much reliance on stuff that doesn't. I mean, there's too many things that hold the film back. It could have been better. I think the film. I mean, honestly, that's the question I want to ask. Given this film, okay, and the way Scooter took it, in the very, very exploitative way he took it, okay, which I honestly don't think was necessary for the plot, not for this one. You look at Henenlotter's work or Abel Ferrara's work. That kind of stuff works for the stories that they're telling, where those are naturally exploitative stories. This wasn't an exploitative premise, but he used exploitation, like gratuitous exploitation and some graphic shit to tell a story that didn't need it. So it's a weird. That's why the film is tonally is very, very weird. Well, like the visual from the tone of the film. And so my question is, could this film be remade in the way it should be, in the way that conveys the story better and hits the themes in a more profound or more compelling way? And that's kind of what I want to ask the audience. What do you think? Could Shatter Dead be remade today where it actually touches on the themes that Scooter wanted to touch on and made better? Or should nobody ever touch this fucking movie ever again? I'm kind of curious about that. Let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. I appear to have lost Eugene again one more time. His internet is like shitting the bed tonight. So maybe he'll be back here in a moment. But definitely let us know. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Travis Brown says, I think it could be remade. I think it could as well. I think Shatter Dead could be remade. I think it should be remade so that kind of intriguing plot, that premise, doesn't get lost. That you could go back and you could redo that thing and actually shoot it the way it's meant to be shot and get an actress who can actually do the fucking job. That's the key point. Is like, I think that so much was lost with Stark's performance. As challenging as that was, and as much as I'll give her in the bravery in what she did, to really try to convey these things the way that she did them, I'll give her the credit on that, but not the actress that they needed. Maybe the only actress that they had, but not the actress they needed. You're back.
We're going to see if my internet will actually hold up. At least for a little bit. Is this something that could be remade? I guess this is one of those type of films. Like I don't know the type of horror fan that I would recommend this film to. I just don't. It's because it's not one of those like funny bad movies that you can really get into. It's just there. And like I was like, okay. Like it was done. I was like, okay.
You could do this film and you could have all the nudity, you could have all that stuff, but it could be done in an artistic way and not in an exploitative way. You could use the nudity to sell the themes of like gender conformity, of societal conformity, of heteronormativity, and bucking those kind of like societal demands or the societal expectations. You could use that to sell that in a more artful way. Like this is the weird exploitation art house film. This is definitely attempts to be a high art film, but Scooter McRae is not a high art director. This is a high art concept, but not done in a high art way, which is why it's so funky, which is why I think I am kind of in agreement with the live chat that this absolutely could be remade and done in the correct manner, not to mention with an actress that can actually do the fucking job. That was one of my biggest
it helps
things.
when you have an actress second act.
This is true.
Like it just helps.
Just at least know how to do a line read. I mean, it's basic shit. It's
No. I blame the director because the director looked through that tiny little viewfinder, because I know for a fact they didn't have a monitor, a tiny little viewfinder, and was like, yep, I like that. We're moving on.
We're moving. Cut.
We're
going. We're moving on. Oh, fuck. So I see Travis Brown does think it should be remade. Sir Cadam says Full Frontal will always sell tickets. Leave it alone. Tony Regime says, don't remake good films. Remake the bad films that had good stories. Agreed. Strange Like 790 says, great concept. They could do it better. Yes to a remake.
Yeah.
Sir Kaz says, it's for the emo hipster crowd to make sarcastic remarks about. Probably it is.
Yeah, honestly, I think something like a remake could have been done with a actual, a film camera or a cinema camera, a crew, an audio guy would probably help also.
Right.
An actual actress, special effects makeup, an editor, the composer, just actual film people that could make it better.
All right. So definitely let us know down in the comments below at weekinhorror@gmail.com, especially this little kind of like, if you were able, if you're able to watch it, this one does go to some extreme places. I'll give that. But woof, man, obviously pushing the boundaries. You can see what they, Fred Edge says, oh, you could flip the gender roles in a remake.
I mean, listen, we've talked a lot about when they remake good films and like, oh man, you can only aspire to be as good as like if you remake something like this. I give a camera to some high school kids or like a cell phone and they can remake something better.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
iPhone 15. We shoot this fucker on the titanium. You're good.
Listen, you get one iPhone for your camera. You get another iPhone with like an audio app so you can put it next to your actor. Done.
I mean, pretty fucking soon. The fucking cell phones are gonna be shooting in 4K. So it's like
they're already shooting 4K.
Oh fucking hell, man! It's like what the shit. God damn it! It's like fucking like it's like. So what are you bringing to the table? My iPhone titanium. This is not a titanium. I did not fall for that. But it was like, oh, my iPhone titanium.
Don't know
oh, you're
what
good to go.
Happening with my internet. Okay, we're seeing. All right, everybody's roboting. Okay, are we ready for the next film?
You're all over the place. Hey, Angel Rivera, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Yes, let's move on to our next one. An even weirder fucking movie.
Man, we
got some weird ones tonight.
Weird episode. I'm just going to tell you that these are some weird films, and it's just weird throughout the rest of the night too. That's it. Just rest of the night weird.
Sir Kev said I just had a boomer moment. I totally did. I couldn't remember if the iPhone 15, if the titanium could shoot in 4K. I didn't know. I thought it was just kind of like, really high-end 1080p, but fuck, man, they shoot in 4K now? Son of a bitch. I'm behind.
Yeah, it's there. Now, keep in mind, people are like, hey, I'm going to buy a phone. I'm going to shoot something that it's going to look really great. It's not. It's really not. Every commercial has some like Hollywood DP behind it that knows how to light and how to color in post-production to make the footage look good. Because I've had so many clients be like, oh, well, I can shoot on my phone. It'll look the same. It's like, it's not. And then later on they call me and go, I fucked up.
Exactly. It's like, seriously, it's more than just the camera. You know, it's all the lighting and all everything that's coming into the camera that's really important. And what the camera shows, the framing is really important.
Listen, if cell phone cameras are as good as people like claim they can do this, then don't you think studios would cut out DPs and just use that instead because of how much cheaper that would be? And they don't for a reason.
Robert Biter says, I have a drone that weighs the same as a can of beer and shoots 4K 60.
Yeah.
Fucking technology, man. Essentially just a cell camera, though. That's
it pretty much is.
That's insane. All right, let's move on.
Right.
Let's move on to this super weird one. I kind of dig this because we're gonna get into the director and everything. Who's kind of legendary, but let's go ahead and take this one.
We're already weird, so we're gonna get a little bit weirder. And the next one we have up is The Corpse Grinders 2, released December 15th, 2000. Roll it.
Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster.
And you believe you know what it is to be a monster? Hmm?
Man, that's such a good movie.
Talk to me.
Raven Darkstar said, ew, no. Doing okay over there?
Yeah, can y'all? My internet is completely like not cooperating right now. Okay, so that is Corpse Grinders 2.
The sequel.
Which was directed by Ted V. Mickles, starring Sean Morelli, Andy Freeman, Chuck Alfred, and Liz Renee. And basically, you have a pet food company that starts to grind up people and sell it as pet food. And it gets weird.
So, okay. So, for those who there may need some backstory on this one. For those who are unfamiliar, the Corpse Grinders. So Eugene's dealing with this thing. I'll kind of do this. Corpse Grinders 2 is Ted V. Mickles' attempt to try and recapture the energy of the first one. The very first and there's the problem here is that the very first Corpse Grinders came out in 1971. So 1971 to 2000 is the difference between the first movie and the sequel. And there was a third one that came out after Ted died. So oh, Eugene just made it worse. So Corpse Grinders 2 is essentially just think of it more like Corpse Grinders like 1.5, because it's kind of like a remake of the original Corpse Grinders. It's just set after the events of the first one, whereas in the brothers who are running the Lotus Food Cat Company are just doing it again, and now these cat aliens who've been in a war with dog aliens are now looking for a new food source. And so instead of like in the first movie where it was the cats who ate the human ground up cat food that they were selling that was super popular, and then the cats like go mad and start attacking humans because now they have a taste for human flesh. That was the premise of the first film. The second one is now, instead of cats, it is now the alien cats have now come to Earth because they have a taste for this stuff, for this, the special cat food. And, shit is, it's very, very weird. So the film in and of itself is a yes. And what was it? Someone brought up, it was just another film, another video shot on video film. It's very, very cheaply done, especially this one. At least with the 70s version, with the 1971 version, you had that natural kind of like grain to the film. And so, there was, the bad effects were hidden. But when I think with the 2001 shot on digital, you see all of the things that they were able to hide in the 70s version. So everything looks extremely cheap. The effects are not great. They're, akin to like mid 90s, like schlock horror stuff. But that is the beauty of the wild world of Ted V. Mikels. So for those unfamiliar with Ted V. Mikels, dude was a legend, born in 29, unfortunately passed away in 2016. And, he was always an independent filmmaker, and movies he did was like Girl in Gold Boots, The Doll Squad, The Astro Zombies was one of his big ones, and of course the Corpse Grinders and Corpse Grinders 2 was just kind of like him, just kind of like doing this movie in the year 2000, to try and like capture the essence of the original film. The film in and of itself is really not that, it's obviously not that impressive. It's only for those who really kind of like that schlock, goofy, riff track style horror films. And that, there's not much to honestly say about it. Everything about it is extraordinarily, yes, Astro Zombies got riff tracked. So like, that's the kind of movies that Ted V. Mikels, like, that's the kind of movies that he produced. He wanted to go for that kind of like Neil Breen, Ed Wood style filmmaking where it was super, super cheap. Actors who weren't names, who weren't really established. They were usually theater actors. So like people who were like, very, 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 very cheap, or very, or like, like people that, that he knew who didn't have acting experience, or the cheapest people he could put on camera, and the cheapest fucking effects. Like your cat aliens literally just designated by the fact that they have weird costumes and cat ears and shit. And to get a sense of the second film, I had to go back and watch the first film so I could get an idea of like where Ted was going with this. The first film is actually not terrible, because the cats like turning on humans and killing each other is actually pretty decent. The effects are pretty decent. And I like the way that film was edited. That film was edited in kind of like trying to go like legitimate horror there instead of the silly camp that you could look at it with. So it was the attempt was there. This one was just unfortunately a schlocky, goofy, take off the first film. It's all it was. Just kind of a redux of the first movie with some added changes in order to like continue the narrative. And then and yes, Sarcasm says, JL, you, a grown-ass man, just said, cat aliens fighting dog aliens. Did you ever wonder where your left turn at Albuquerque got missed? I often do on this podcast. I often do wonder where I missed the turn at Albuquerque. Paracord Princess says, and then it gets weird? Right. It absolutely, this is pretty much what it was. Rodnell says, Misfits and Rob Zombie fodder. Absolutely. Hello, Human. Can I has Human Burger? Pretty much what it was. And that's the crazy thing. For as much as it is a movie about, these two brothers who are now grinding up human beings, killing and grinding up human beings into cat food, it's not terribly gory in that respect. You would expect a lot more like blood splatter and all stuff all over the place. It's not. It's almost like Henenlotter's work, where Henenlotter focused on the gore and stuff, but always populated his movies with really, really fascinating and weird characters. Mikels did the same thing, where there's a lot of fascinating and weird characters, but never really hardcore on the exploitation or the gore aspects of the movies. So it's very kind of Ed Wood in that respect. So I kind of like consider him kind of like an Ed Wood student, where he's just going to tell a story that's kind of goofy and weird and cast weird people to tell the story and not really worry about trying to scare people, but just maybe kind of unnerve people. Very almost tame Abel Ferrara, Hanenlotter stuff, where it's kind of like, we're going to tell a really, really funky, weird story that has almost virtually no plot and just let the actors kind of run around and do their thing. So there's unfortunately not a ton amount to talk about in this one, as cheap as it was. I would have loved to have gotten Eugene's take on it as to what he thought on this thing as far as like the production value goes. But there he is. There's the man.
All right. We're going to see if my internet will stop shitting out. It would be nice if we could get through it in an actual sentence. But yeah, so Corpse Grinders 2. Fuck. This is some of the weirdest shit that I've ever watched for this podcast.
It's not the fucking weirdest movie ever. It's just so
it's weird.
It's so bonkers absurd.
Like, in terms of like, we've watched gory stuff. We've watched low budget bad stuff. We've watched some like vanity projects. We talked about some of that in this episode. And I was like, okay, all right. The remake of it's like a 1971 one. And when we got the aliens,
the cat aliens that are only that with the cat ears, they don't even look like cat ears.
The cat ears on the spaceship. I'm going to tell you right now, when I started this movie, if someone would have bet me $1,000 that we're going to have cat aliens in space, what the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, I gotta ask you, so to get better context of what Mikkels was doing, I went back and watched the first one, the 1971 one. Did you happen to watch that one?
No, because I watched the second one. I'm done with the series.
Okay, well, there's actually a third one too that was shot after Mikkels passed away.
With the series.
Yeah, so actually, I was telling the audience, I went back and watched the first one. The first one is actually, it's very schlocky, but it's actually not that bad. The way the film was edited and the way the story was paced out is actually not terrible. It makes for it's almost kind of like one of those made-for-TV horror films you'd see back in the 70s or the 80s, and which is it's essentially kind of what it was, because it wasn't that extreme on the gore. The only major stuff that you get is when they feed people into the dicing machine, the shredding machine, and then like the meat comes out the one side. It's very obviously not real. It's like, because people are just like sliding into this thing like they're just greased up, and then meat comes out. It's like, no, that thing would be like, if you actually know what's going on. But people are going in there smooth as butter, and and then like the meat is coming out the side. That's as extreme as it gets. And really, Mikkels was, if you look at his movies, even his movie like Blood Orgy of the She-Devils, yes, that was a movie that Mikkels did back in 73. Like,
that
Blood Orgy
is a sentence I thought I would never hear in my entire life.
There you go. Blood Orgy of the She-Devils, or Mark of the Astro Zombies was his big thing. Riff Tracks did a thing on Astro Zombies. So, but even that, he never went really extreme in the gore area. He loved to populate his films with really bonkers, absurd, or zany characters, like really weird people, very much like Frank Henenlotter does. Henenlotter's movies were like extreme gore and exploitation, but the stories were told by really weird characters. It's like strange people that you'd find on the street, like those people you avoid in New York City. It's like, get away from me. It's like, but Henenlotter loved those. He loved those characters, and so he populated his films with them. Mikkels did the same thing, but he never really relied too terribly heavily on the exploitation or the gore. He just liked to do horror films that had like these zany fucking concepts. And Corpse Grinders definitely, I think the first one is actually way better than the second, because the first one was just better produced, better edited. The editing is really what's so good.
Bar.
But
it's just not. That's like, the first one is it's way better than what? Nothing.
What is this? Extra J says Eugene. Kids in race of Larry Niven's cat aliens. Oh yes, Rodell says Eugene is not down with the Corpse Grinder cinematic universe. Joshua Lee says, if The Room was a horror movie, I think it would be this film. It probably would be. It's so fucking weird in that respect. Rodin James is almost John Waters-esque in weird characters. Absolutely. John Waters, same way, just really, really strange shit.
Okay, even like John Waters does some weird stuff, but some of it, like in Pink Flamingo, some of it I can kind of.
You had to bring up that one.
I'm just saying, if I'm ever on set, whether I'm acting, directing, the PA, the sound guy, whatever, and we're on a spaceship with cat aliens that look like that, I made some poor life choices.
Very poor life choices. Absolutely.
Very, very poor. That's my key. That's my sign that I need to be an accountant.
I'll give it to Mickles. As an independent filmmaker, you know, Mickles always stuck to his gut. That's what I'm gonna give praise here, just from Mickles himself. Mickles had a unique vision. He wanted to tell stories, and he stayed true to his form, and he was always independent. I mean, with what he wanted to do, he would have to be. You know, that's essentially where his niche was. Very similar.
No one's going to give him money for that.
Very similar to, I would say, I'm not comparing the two, but very similar to Romero. Romero's style was it was fit for independent. The stories he wanted to tell and the concepts he wanted to convey were fit for independent. Plus, he bristled under the studio's thumb. It's the kind of personality that these gentlemen were. Is that these are not the kind of artists that are going to flourish with a studio hanging above them, and they don't have the panache of someone like Cameron or Spielberg, where the studio will bow to their talents. Okay, so it's just, you know, they're in that lovable little zone of people that we enjoy for their, you know, like Ed Wood, Neil Breen, Abel Ferrara, fucking Frank Henenlotter, you know, I will say J.K. Bookwalter, you know, individuals like this who have a specific vision, and it's never going to be mainstream, but they're fun and goofy and silly stories that are just made for the fucking love of making movies. That's what this one is about. Thank you so much, Operation Free World, for the $5 super chat. It says, I get the vibe. Like me, neither of you creative sleep much, so here's a coffee. Thank you so much, Operation Free World. We do appreciate that. Definitely. Thank you. Insane Angel, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Unfortunately, we lost Eugene again. His internet is just shitting the bed tonight. Ronald Same says, we're waiting on a Torgo origin story. Oh, I gotta let Eugene know that, because Eugene fucking loves that movie. He loves Monos. He absolutely does. You know, I am Torgo. I watched the manor when I watched the house when the master's away. With his wobbly knees. Oh, Torgo. I just love that face he makes. Torgo origin story. I love it. Casey Cooper says, I want Jalen Eugene's take on Santa Claus versus the Martians. Yeah, possibly Santa Claus versus the Martians. That's amazing. Was it, Santa Claus versus the Martians, or Santa Claus conquers the Martians? Because there's Santa Claus versus the devil. And Santa Claus conquers the Martians. Santa Claus conquers the Martians. 1964, directed by Nicholas Webster. Yeah. I'll have to check that one out. That sounds interesting. He's back, and he's in portrait mode.
Yes. So let me see if it'll rotate. I'm
there you go.
There we go. I am tired of my internet saying, like, it does not want to work at all. So I'm probably going to be on phone for the rest of the podcast.
Cool. That'll work. So, what was it you just said? Rodin Name said beautifully, we're waiting on a Torgo origin story.
I will watch that in a heartbeat.
I told you. I fucking told you. Torgo. I watched the estate while the master's away.
The riff tracks version of it, that man needs groping lessons.
Yes, I wish those big hands would just push him over. I fucking love this. Riff tracks is brilliant. Extra J says this is quickly becoming an MST3K theme night. It absolutely is. There's some MST3K films in this one. But man, oh man, the Corpse Grinders, you gotta love it. You gotta love Ted Mickles, the legendary Ted Mickles, for the stuff that he produced. You're not gonna get mainstream stuff here. You watch these things sheerly for the joy of watching a man do what he wants to do with film and be like, you know what? Whether it's riff tracks level or it's just fucking goofy silliness, man, You gotta give him credit. The man did what he wanted to do. He forged a career
I'm
in
not
film.
giving him credit for anything.
I'm totally giving that man credit.
No.
Not just for the films he made, but for his delectable mustache.
Listen, you can have whatever mustache you want, which I think Dolly still has like the record of the best mustache. But what I just watched, I have no words for. Nothing. Notice I haven't talked about the cinematography. I haven't talked about the makeup effects or acting performances because
What makeup effects? There weren't any makeup effects in this one. It was like, here's a headband with some cat ears. Wear it.
That was
what
it.
it was.
The entire time I'm just like this.
It's just so fucking nonsensical. It really is. Oh man. Oh.
The movie didn't even make me mad. It wasn't like The Butcher where I was like furious afterwards and I was ready to rant. It was like my brain was like, I can't believe this exists.
That's now in your head. You cannot escape. You now have seen it. You've witnessed it. You
can't unsee that.
You cannot unsee it. You can't. Definitely. Oh, Rodin Name says, do I hear the vroom vroom of a certain polisher starting up? No. Because if we put the Corpse Grinders 2 in the TP9000, there'd be no movie to come out. It would vanish. It would vanish in the process. There is nothing to shine here. But that's the beauty of it. Unlike other films where they're equally as bad or worse, that take themselves so fucking seriously, like, we're making fucking movies and shit, man. This is fucking film. Mikkels was not of that mentality. Mikkels was just like, let's shoot a fucking movie. Let's have the old school Sam Raimi mentality of it. Get a fucking camera, get your friends together, go shoot when you have time, have fun with it, shoot your stuff. Tell your fucking stories. Doesn't matter what they are, just get out and do it because that's what you're meant to be. Be a storyteller.
You forgot to add the fact that it had to be a lot of drugs involved. It was more like all right, we're going to shoot a movie.
And we're paying everyone in weed. We got it. Oh man. But definitely. Who got this one? This was yours. This was yours. Yes, we have the next one to talk about, but we have a question for the audience.
So the question is see, I can't even.
That's how it's the corpse grinders in your brain, man. Your brain went in the machine along with all those bodies.
It's already there. I watched Birdemic without flinching once, and I watched this, and I was just. Anyway, so I want to ask
stop watching. I can't pull myself away. It's like what did I just imagine? Fucking Huey on Boondocks watching BET. Because the can't. He's like, what was I doing in here? What's going on? What the fuck? Just like totally gone.
What's happening? Okay, I want to ask the audience, what is your favorite Ted Mikkels film?
Favorite Ted V. Mikkels film? He had some good ones. He did.
I just I don't know. I have no answer for this.
He had some good ones. He had some decent ones. Like his early stuff. The beginning of his career was very similar to like Wes Craven and Sean S. Cunningham, where they were getting into that kind of like light erotic films. So like they kind of like got their way into the industry doing that as editors and writers, and then segued that money they made because those things always made money. Cheap to make, really easy to make money, back at the time in the 70s, in the 60s and the 70s. And then he parlayed that into doing the films that he wanted to, just like Craven and Cunningham did as well. And so he had some movies like that, but he had some good ones like, The Worm Eaters, Astro Zombies, Doll Squad. He had some interesting ones. So not pretty much all of the same quality, but if you like that schlocky kind of like Trauma-esque, goofy, doesn't take itself seriously kind of horror films, and there you go. It just doesn't have the lovability of Trauma. Is what it is, because Trauma has like a lovable quality to it. Toxie and Classroom Nukem High and shit like that,
Well, yeah, I mean, trauma is fun, and there's nothing wrong with making a fun movie. You talk about like Toxic Avenger, that's like super, super fun, and it made sense. Toxic Avenger makes sense as far out there as it is. When you have a toxic creature wearing a tutu, it still makes sense.
I love that. I love that. I see the new trailer. Oh yeah, and Casey Cooper says, "Oh my God, there's a Corpse Grinders 3." There is a Corpse Grinders 3. Yes, there is one. But it released after Ted passed away, after Michaels passed away, but so they carried on the legacy of that. But I love the new trailer of Toxic Avenger. You see the backlit when he's all backlit in shadow, and you see he's got the tutu on. I was like, "Fuck yes!" That movie's gonna be fucking legendary. It's gonna be legendary. All right, but definitely let us know down in the comments below what you think is the best Ted V. Mickles film. I know he's legendary. You may have to watch some, but if you've got a favorite, let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. We want to know it. Ivy Entry says, I think that this is the night that Week in Horror realized they have an audience of extras that are eager to be paid in weed, snacks, and a ride. And a ride to the set. That's doable. That's fucking doable. That's doable.
That is
hey,
doable.
There's our Torgo origin film. Let me ask you this. Before we go on to our next one, who you casted to play Torgo? Who are you going to cast to play Torgo? That's a heavy role. That is a fucking meaty ass role. Who is playing Torgo in your mind?
If I'm going to go, let's say I had a choice between any actor to play Torgo, anybody, I would go with this one because I want to see this actor's process to get in the head of Torgo. I'm going to go Daniel Day-Lewis. I want to see 2 years of method acting to get to Torgo's like thought state.
That's fucking amazing. Oh, Rodin name says Torgo played by Chris Hemsworth. Okay, so Daniel Day-Lewis. Obviously, you won't be you can't afford. I don't think you'll ever be able to afford Daniel Day-Lewis to play Torgo, but I don't think he'd ever sign on to it either. But even if you could. Like right now, if we were to shoot a Torgo, like 2024, the Torgo origin film, like Monos in origin story or whatever, like of the people you have available to us, like of the people that are available in your stable, who would you cast to play Torgo? I'm going to give you mine before you give you. I would cast Johnny. I would cast Johnny to play Torgo just to see him do like the. Whatever. I want to see the story of like the man Torgo becoming twisted into the abomination he was in the hands of fate. Who amongst us would you cast?
Okay, so if it's amongst us as Torgo, honestly, I can see Alex doing it.
Alex could be Torgo?
I think Alex would be Torgo. I think Alex,
he's got that kind of like half-lidded, kind of tired look to it.
He has that his attire, and then Alex has a great like comedic timing. Because it has to be a comedy. If you're going to do Torgo, the origin story, which I think
no, it's got to be drama. It's got to be hard drama.
Oh, no, I think that Alex can pull it off.
And it's got to be deep. It's got to be like you got to reach down. It's got to be like really. Like, we're talking like A24 drama. That's what it's got to be. Like
I think it could be. And Johnny would play Manos.
Johnny would be Manos at the end. That's fucking awesome. Extra J says the title will be There Will Be Torgo. Brunell's name says Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage would play him. He would do it.
Oh yeah, I feel like Nicolas Cage with like a pizza and a 6-pack.
Danny Trejo could probably play him too. All you have to do is pay him. He'll do it. It doesn't fucking matter. He'll do it.
Oh yeah.
Travis Brown says Torgo played by Christopher Walken. The speech pattern, yeah, I could see that. Tony Regimo says Christian Bale just to watch him suffer. Oh, man. Fucking hilarious. Sarcasm says, hey, Week in Horror, Aaron is already Torgo. No method or acting necessary. I could see Aaron as Torgo. I
could see Aaron. I totally could.
The man who would be Torgo. I could see that. I could. Oh man, this is how we come up with these ideas. It really, really is. All right, you mean Christopher Stumbling? I can't even do it. It's fucking hilarious. All right, so let's jump into our last film of the night. And this one, I actually am going to say, is a step up from the last two that we just talked about, but still a weird fucking movie.
That's not saying anything.
I know it's not saying anything, but it's still a step up. It still is.
That's like saying like this piece of bread tastes better than dog shit.
This piece of bread with dog shit on it tastes better than just the dog shit straight.
The dog shit by itself.
Right.
Going back to Pink Flamingo also.
So we're going back to we're staying in the 90s. We're staying firmly in the 90s. Released December 16th, 1997. We have the movie The Creeps, otherwise known as Deformed Monsters. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube.
That's a PC way of saying calling
I
what these
know,
monsters
right?
are.
Well, originally Deformed Monsters, then like, maybe not. Then we'll do The Creeps. Let's check out this trailer.
Let's get this party started.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna face them in the face!
Yeah, it's full moon.
Soon, it will be our time again.
I love how Eugene's just shaking his fucking head. And Travis Brown says, "This is what happens when you order the Monster Squad from Wish." So The Creeps, a.k.a. Deformed Monsters, as you saw in the trailer, a full moon production. Obviously, the people behind Charles Band's group, the people behind Puppet Master and shit. This movie was directed by Charles Band, written by Benjamin Carr, starring Rhonda Griffin, Justin Lauer, Bill Moynihan, Kristen Norton, John Samanton, Joe Smith, and the legend Phil Fondacaro. One of the great up there as far as small what do you say, dwarf actors. I think best. He's like a lot of people know Warwick Davis, but Phil Fondacaro came up alongside Warwick Davis. They were both in Star Wars. As a matter of fact, you remember in Star Wars in Return of the Jedi, the one Ewok that died, that had the death scene.
Everybody remembers the one Ewok that died.
Right. That was Phil Fondacaro playing that Ewok. So Phil Fondacaro, and plus he was in Troll and a number of stuff. So he's an amazing fucking actor. Now the film itself it's goofy. It follows this mad scientist who has found a way to bring fictional literary characters like physically to life using this machine and a sacrifice. And so his objective is to bring these monsters to life and use them to basically take over the world. The problem is He fucks up the experiment, and the monsters come out. Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and the Mummy. They come out, and they're all dwarves. And that's where the idea comes from. I think, and I think that they changed the name because, Deformed Monsters, has a bad implication there. I thought I lost you there for a second. You just kind of looked like you kind of zoned out. But I will say this, and you may disagree with me. I thought you were PC, bro. It's little people. I don't think it's little people. I think they're dwarves. I do not think it's little people. So many wrong little people jokes you can think. Okay, so Travis Brown brings this up. So many wrong little people jokes that you can think of. Absolutely there are. But this is the beauty. This movie, in my opinion, might be just my opinion, is way better than it had any right to be. Okay? And that was because of two things. One, the writing itself did not get bogged down in all of those obvious little little people or dwarf jokes that you could make. I mean, it was right for that. You got all your classic monsters being portrayed by dwarf actors. You could have easily slipped down into all the little people jokes, all that shit. This could have easily gone bathroom humor silliness, but they didn't. So the writing didn't go in that direction. And two, the only reason to watch this movie is Phil Fondacaro, because I will give that man this. I will give that man this credit. Number one, he's a phenomenal actor, terrific actor. That fucker can emote like nobody's business, and for the fact that he's playing Dracula, I thought he sold that exceptionally well for what he was for the movie that he was in. Phil Fondacaro did not deserve to be in a movie of that, to be in a movie like this. He deserves to be in much bigger shit, but he brought that talent and he fucking sold that character. Every line he had, I thought, was expertly delivered. He emotes fantastically. He conveyed the character extraordinarily well, way better than anybody else did. We're talking about a movie where he did this in a movie where the library supervisor is getting off by rubbing books on herself. That's the kind of schlock humor that they're going with, where she's looking around with a book and oh, this is so good. That's the kind of weird fucking movie we're going for here. And yes, Phil Fondacaro was in Willow. He was also in Willow and in Time Bandits. And you'd think that this could be like Time Bandits meets Universal Monsters, but it's not. It unfortunately isn't. But it could have been, if there was more like Phil in this movie. It could have been that, but it unfortunately was not. It had Wolfman more like Chihuahua Man. That's fucked up. That's fucked up, Joshua Lee. That's the jokes that they were avoiding in this film. Okay? So while it is a classic Charles Band kind of full moon feature, it didn't go in the direction that it easily could have gone. They kept it as grounded as they possibly could, and a very, very solid performance from Phil Fondacaro. I thought he was great. Everybody else was crap, but I thought he was great. I thought he was very good.
So saying the fact that they avoided little people jokes or dwarf jokes is like saying that I've never thrown an interception in the NFL. Okay, all right, you can get half a star for that. The dialogue was terrible. The part where she cuts her foot running from them and instantly takes off her shirt
took off her blouse in order to bandage her foot. Yeah.
No one would do that. No one. No. And plus,
we had to get her in her bra. It serves the plot, my friend.
That we're basically saying it was you know what? Good job, prawn film for not having prawn in it.
Okay, I knew that they were coming. Wrote an LS name, Frankenstein, if he was half the man he used to be. It's like sarcasm, micro monsters. That's not right either. It's was the Wolfman's name Jack Russell? What the fuck?
I mean, and plus on top of that, she had to twist and stab her foot because I felt like she could just outrun them.
That's the point. I like that the film did not get bogged. It didn't sink into that tasteless, goofy humor, that sophomoric bullshit that it easily could have done. They tried to avoid that. Some critics did the micro monsters ride micro machines. Travis, seriously? I'm trying to at least pay this film a compliment, man. It could have been it so could have been worse. But at least I mean, professional actors doing what they can. I enjoyed Phil for this film, and everyone's right. You're right. Were the mummy's bandages washed in hot water? Really? Because they shrunk, you know. But everybody's lines were like they were terrible. Like the writing was terrible. But I thought that I don't think Phil Fondacaro's lines were bad. I think he conveyed it quite well. And here's what I got. In that performance, it would have been very, very easy to play this thing off as like a simple, oh, blah, I'm Dracula, blah. But he didn't. He conveyed the part. He conveyed the role intelligently. And there was what I really, really enjoyed is how he was able to convey that there was. He's literally Dracula, new age, doesn't recognize anything. He's intelligent. He's literally trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I don't understand what's happening. Why am I short? I don't remember being this short. Like, what the fuck is going on? Legitimately trying to do this, but throughout all of his conversations, Fondacaro manages to add that kind of subtext of what Dracula would be, of like the infamous monster would be. Even if Dracula's being friendly, there's always going to be that kind of subtext of like, this is a monster. And there's some sort of angle he's trying to play, no matter how gentlemanly he's being or how, calm or collected he is. He's always, because he's a monster. I like that Fondacaro managed to hit that. He managed to nail that. So he was playing that character on two levels, successfully on two levels. What was underneath everything what he was saying, and the affluent gentleman in front of you, but the monster behind the scenes. I dug that he went there, and that just showed the level of talent in that. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. Unfortunately, Dracula just needed a half pint of blood. Really?
I'm just saying, like, okay. If you want to talk performance wise, he was clearly the best. In a very, very low bar. Very low bar.
In a very bad film.
In a very, very bad film. I don't know how you pitched this film for it to get made, because at some point there was a meeting because someone paid for this movie and was like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we take literary horror icons and they bring them back in the library? And they're like, okay, all right. Get something interesting.
Mad scientist brings to life fictional characters to take over the world. There you go.
He's like, okay. I'm seeing something. But wait.
Wait, hang on a second. Oh, no. The producer, so they're like, so like Monster Squad. Yes, but
they're 3 feet tall.
Something goes wrong, and they all come out as dwarves. Am I being punked?
Make it.
No, or just do it. Casey Cooper says, "Don't be short with the chat now." And Freda just says, everyone had bite marks on their ankles? You guys are fucking mean. See, I like with Tang Whistle. Jail, giving good critical analysis. Tang Whistle. Also, Tang Whistle. Audience, cracking all the terrible short jokes. Absolutely. Although, yes, Strange Lex, this chat is amazing, and I love our live chat. I really do. Robert Biter says, we're all going to hell. If it exists, we're definitely all going there. I will see you there. It'll be fantastic. We'll watch movie. We'll be stuck watching movies like this forever. Ivy Gentry says, I need to know if Dracula bites the femoral artery. Cindy Sue, Bigfoot equals Littlefoot. We only have half the budget. Robert Biter says at least they have something to look up to. Josh Lee says mad scientists had to break out the car seat so they could take over the world. What the fuck? This is so fucked up. But Extra J says, but Extra J says, but what are the real shortcomings of this film? Rodinella Fame says, at the end, did all the monsters come together like Voltron? That's fucked up.
It's like the Megazord.
Oh my god, the fuck? Tony Regime says we put the jokes in chat because we know you want to say them. And Travis Brown is right. The chat is not short on short jokes. It is absolutely not. This has been amazing. Oh man. I will say I enjoyed the film for what it is. Rodinella says not many kills require a stepladder. That's true. That they actually make that joke in the movie. They actually do. It's like, or you'll be stuck needing a ladder to kill anybody. It's like, really, you went there, dude. You went there. And it's like Fred just says, breaking news: Week in Horror has been. Breaking news: YouTube channel Week in Horror has been canceled. Probably. Oh fuck, Sir Caps is just having a little pun. Pint sized by Mighty. Oh, hell. What the fuck? Oh, shit. This Frankenstein only requires AAA? What the fuck? Only requires AAA batteries. Oh, man, we're gonna stuck in the small monster jokes all night. But yeah, okay, so yeah, I would say Phil Fondacaro was pretty much the only reason you want to watch this. I thought he was the only saving grace that this particular one had. But if you are a Full Moon fan, if you liked shit like, Demonic Toys or Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. Yeah, they did that.
Oh yeah.
Or Doll Man versus Demonic Toys. Fucking hell. But if you love Full Moon Pictures, if you like their kind of schlocky, goofy, cheap horror films, this is pretty much where it's at. This is like the pinnacle Full Moon Pictures. I love Charles Band. I love Charles Band when he does. I hope to one day be able to be successful like Charles Band. Charles Band is successful like Lloyd Kaufman is successful. They forged their own path. They did their own thing. And now they have you have Full Moon, you got Trauma. Do it the way you want to do it. I hope that one day Week in Horror could do that as well. That under maybe a different name, but we can also get to do that one day. Is to kind of establish ourselves that way, whether it be cheap or not. I don't give a shit. Making movies is fucking fun, and they had fun making this movie. You can tell everybody had fun in this one. So I'll give it that. It's a goofy, funny little silly movie is what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's the type of movie if you want to go and get a couple friends together and riff track it yourselves, obviously y'all can tell the jokes are there. Oh man, the jokes are there.
I have to say, Tony Regime says, go to a fun fair. They're too short to go in the rides. And I was just thinking, it's like they try to do it. It's like, you must be this tall to take over the world. And Extra J says, I hope the trivia question is a short Google search. Ha ha ha. Very, very cute. Fred Edge says, all my short kings in the chat, give me a high five. Jump. No, higher. Jump. Nearly there. One more time. Oh, man. But you gotta say, for a movie that was directed by Charles Band, I enjoyed what it did here. It was a fun movie, way better than I expected it to be. And I think it's way better than it had any right to be. But I got to ask the audience. What I want to ask the audience is, what is in Dark Helmet would approve? What do you think is the best Charles Band directed film? The best Charles Band directed film. Let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on that, on the legendary Charles Band. Rodinella name says, Chucky finally feels large.
I would I'll watch a movie of them versus Chucky.
I would do that. I would would
totally watch that.
The Creeps versus Chucky, that'd be hilarious. Can they have a midget amputee with a swimming pool named Bobby? That's not right. Come on, Hypogamus. What are you doing? What are you doing? Now you're gonna be that's just not right. That's not right at all. No, I almost said that joke. I almost said
you almost did.
Like the one in the pile of leaves named Russell. I'm so fucked up. We're so getting canceled. We're so getting canceled. All right, man. Well, you know what time it is, guys. Everybody out there, ghouls and gals, you know what time it is. What time is it?
It's trivia time.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming eventually. We're at the mark, so you knew it was coming. All right. For tonight's trivia question, the first person to get the correct answer in the live chat, we got the live chat up, gets a special item from the Week in Horror store. So get those Google fingers ready. Eugene, tell them or give them their trivia question for the night.
So the trivia question is, Charles Band's first ever film, Last Foxtrot in Burbank, is a parody of what infamous Marlon Brando film? Charles Band's first ever film, Last Foxtrot in Burbank, is a parody of what infamous Marlon Brando film? First one in the chat wins the prize.
Let's see. Rodell Sam said Big Trouble in Little China. It's like,
We got it.
That's not, oh, Jinju got it. There it is.
Jinju got it.
Jinju got it with not Last Tanogo in Paris, but you're trying to say Last Tango in Paris. Yes, you are correct. Ooh, those kind of came in quick. What we got here? Yeah, so Jinju said Last Tango in Paris. You are correct, Jinju. It was basically a parody of Last Tango in Paris, infamous Marlon Brando film that was really has its own kind of like crazy backstory behind it. Fred just said Apocalypse Now. Nope, unfortunately, Tony Regime got it. Angel Rivera got it. And Left-Handed Jedi got it. Everybody. Hey, B. Blanco. Good to see you. Yeah, unfortunately, you caught us at the tail end. A lot of people got it, but Jinju was first, even though it was not Tanogo in Paris, but I got what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
We'll give that to you. So I will write your name down, Jinju. There we go. And I will get you your prize printed and shipped to you ASAP. So definitely, congratulations. Well done. Robert Biter says, I would have won, but there was a short delay. Really? Roto said,
you do realize before like Facebook executes us, this is the video they're going to play. They're like,
right, exactly. Roto says, Last Torgo in Paris. There's the name. There's the Last Torgo in Paris. Oh, I love it. I fucking love it. I really do. Oh, it's fantastic. All right, horror fiends. Well, you know what that means? This is gonna conclude this episode of the Week in Horror podcast. This very, very weird episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Oh, thank you all so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. I was going to make a short joke there, but I fucked it up. Join us next week when we look back at the deeper than it seems 50s Jack Arnold horror Monster on the Campus, the phenomenal Hammer horror The Devil Rides Out, the campy teen horror Monster High, and the legendary 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, that's a good one.
Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merchandise, which you can find over at Teespring. For more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links that are down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the Daily Splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, and all kinds of horror shenanigans. And support the show through channel memberships, super chats, PayPal, or even through our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Just like all those names you see down there. For $1 a month, you can join us. As always, thank each and every single one of you for being the greatest audience a horror film podcast could possibly have. I am JL.
And I'm Eugene.
We will see all of you next week. And as always, stay scared.